and wastewater interceptors and smaller pipes for collection of wastewater. It's pretty much it's somewhat of a fragmented management. The City of Cleveland Division of Water manages the water system, and basically almost for the entire county with the exception of Berea and then some of Summit County. On the wastewater side, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, manage most of the wastewater. There's not quite as large areas the Division of Water has. There are some communities that still have their own sewage plants, and then you have the other entity that's in the mix here are the local communities. I mean, we have 70 communities in this region that all have some responsibility for their local sewer systems and local collection systems, and even some of the water mains themselves.
It sounds pretty complicated, actually, in the sense that there's a lot of management going on, and maybe that's something that you can address in terms of the EPA's position. Is it hard then to sort of keep track of what everybody's doing and whether or not they're adhering to the rules and who should be held responsible when things are going wrong?
Absolutely. I mean, it is a when you think of the state as a whole and you think of our water infrastructure systems, be it drinking water, be it water pollution control treatment systems, I think most people, to pick up on what you said earlier, most people don't have the slightest idea of the degree of the pipes, the pumps, the effort, the tracking that goes into it, the people who are employed by the systems, the people who have to fix and repair the systems, the people who have to unplug systems when they get clogged, et cetera. Most people, as you said, and I think when I get up in the morning, I don't think about it either. I'm thinking about my day. I'm not thinking about at that particular moment where the water goes, but it's a tremendous, it's just a tremendously large system. Very expensive to operate, very expensive to maintain, very expensive to control, and very expensive to monitor. And certainly we do look at how systems are doing, and the typical mechanism for doing that is seeing whether or not people are complying with their ultimate discharge permits on the clean water side, and whether or not the water they're providing on the drinking water side, whether that's meeting all the appropriate requirements, based on the sampling results, et cetera. But I think most Ohioans, and I think most people in the United States, don't realize the magnitude of this system, and then go one step further and compare that to most countries in the world where there is no water infrastructure system to speak of in many developing countries. So the dichotomy between us and those third world countries is enormous, but even we're now seeing and beginning to really feel the cost of keeping these systems up and running, to provide what I think most of us in this room would view as a basic necessity, clean water and water pollution control.
So how many plants do we have today in terms of drinking water plants and treatment plants? And then you said that most of the water, actually, our drinking water, comes from Lake Erie. So it comes from Lake Erie, it's pumped into a drinking water plant that then treats it. Walk me through that process.
Okay. We have 4 water intakes. They're out in the lake as far as the Cleveland system goes, and these are our forefathers did a great job. They're very strategically placed. They're three miles out into the lake, away from the outflow of any of the rivers that are flowing into the lake, so they don't get the plume that comes out of the rivers. And so those intakes feed into treatment plants where they disinfect and filter and do other treatments, and then it's pumped out into the system where people consume it and use it for industry or whatever they use it for. Then, as you stated, it goes either down the drain, down the toilet, whatever, and it goes into a system of pipes, some of the pipes that we have down our street, which are usually the responsibility of the local communities, and then it goes into interceptor pipes, which are our pipes at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. And then it's brought to our plants, where it is systematically treated through a number of different methods, and then put back into either the lake or the Cuyahoga River in the case of the southerly sewage plant. So there are 4 water treatment plants that deliver potable water, and there are 3 wastewater plants that deliver the wastewater. Now, again, there are some communities, Solon, North Royalton, and some of these communities that have their own sewage plants, and they discharge into some of the receiving bodies near their their communities. But they all have to be permitted by the EPA.
Okay. Well, with regards then to the permits from the EPA, what are you looking for? What's the standard that you're holding, for example, that water that gets released back out into our lakes? What kind of standards is it held to? What do we
The permits that, and again, we issue permits for numerous types of sources across Ohio, but if you're looking at a wastewater treatment plant, we would be, the bottom line, I think, to boil it down most fundamentally is we want to make sure that anything that is in human waste or anything else that gets flushed down a commode, or if it comes in from a business, that it's properly treated. So when the water goes out, the discharged water, we want to make sure that it's properly free of microbiological contamination, the fecal matter that can cause people to be sick if they ingest or drink it. It needs to also be clear of the chemicals that can get into the water, so we want to make sure that VOCs are or volatile organics are removed and taken out. Even something as simple as solids or sediment, there has to be limits on that, things like pH. So if you look at a permit, if you could look at a permit for one of the wastewater treatment plants, it's not a hunting license. It's not like a yes, you can discharge or no, you can't discharge. It would be a pretty lengthy document that would have lots of terms and conditions requiring monitoring, sampling. It would have a long list of parameters that the city would have to sample for and make sure that they're meeting those limits. If they're not, they would have to report that to us. And then we would try to figure out, well, why is there a problem? Why is this not being met? And then we would go from there. But the permits are complex, and they are, again, there's lots of terms and conditions that we think, and we developed over time, are necessary to ensure that the ultimate discharge at the back end of the plant is ensuring that the water that's going into whatever water body, whether it's the Lake Erie, a stream, whatever it could be, is clean enough to protect public health and the environment.
Now, one of the things that I have noticed recently, just to sort of bring us back to a little bit about the infrastructure, what happens when that water that's going down our drains and storm water as well gets to be too much for the system to handle? I walk often at Edgewater Park, and as I'm walking along the beach there's a big, giant, round door and a sign that tells me that to beware that at any moment this door could open and release raw sewage onto the beach. And it disturbed me greatly when I first saw this, and I thought to myself, that can't possibly be true. Is it true?
Yeah. It is true. Yeah, these systems were designed in the early days, they call combined sewers. Okay, in the early days, they built sewers that were designed to carry both wastewater and stormwater. And at certain times when there was a big storm, it would then overflow into a weir and become flow its merry way. And in a very large storm, it would go into an overflow mode and overflow into the environment. And that's what you see there at the beach. And 33% of our system is combined sewers, and mostly in the city of Cleveland and the inner ring suburbs. And then the outer ring suburbs grew over the years, and they put in separated sanitary and storm sewers. But the outmigration and what we've done to the environment out there. I mean, we're getting a lot more flows now into the inner ring suburbs in the city than we used to get, and the sewers just simply can't handle it, so they're going to overflow. So that is an issue that we have been dealing with from a capital investment standpoint. The sewer district, back in the days before they started addressing this issue, we estimated it was about 10 billion gallons a year of this combined sewer overflow that would go into the environment, into the Cuyahoga River or into Lake Erie. Since that time, the sewer district has invested over $2 billion in the last 30 years on many issues, not just the combined sewer issue, but that as well. And that number is now down to about 5 billion gallons a year, so cut in half. We're going to continue on the program. Maybe we'll talk about it here a little bit. We're going to continue on the program. We're going to reduce that drastically further.